Hey there, wanted to make a tutorial since I can't find one anywhere, and there's not that many people who actually use this gun. On the KJW MK1, I want to make a tutorial on taking care of a leaky magazine. And actually, yeah, I have two. One's in there, the other one is here. So the actual gun itself, it's really simple. It's you can take it apart. You know how it works in an instant. It's because basically, for those who actually own the gun, you already know that it's basically just a pistol with a really long barrel, and pistol builds are normally really simple. You're gonna find the same thing with the actual with the magazine, but you're gonna find a leak one of these days if you own one. So where you're going to probably find the leak, if it's up here, you got a burst O-ring. I'm not going to cover that today. Best way to avoid that, don't leave it out in the heat, because of course with green gas magazines, you want to leave them pressurized to at least some extent when you're not using them. So don't leave them pressurized and throw them in the back of your hot car. I know we're not thinking about this since it's November right now, but in Florida, where I live, we are. So down here, you might have a problem with the O-ring, and you might hear a leak coming from the fill valve where that O-ring is. First thing to check out is if the O-ring is cracked. If it is, pop it out, go to Ace Hardware. It's going to be metric, and see if you can get yourself a new O-ring that seats in there properly. Ways to prevent that thing from happening, actually, ways to prevent any leak from happening, since a lot of people that use green gas guns use propane. Seriously, make sure that you're putting enough silicone oil inside the inside your propane adapter. So don't just be filling up with what I'm going to call naked propane, or you're going to run into leaks all the time and you're going to have to take apart your magazine. So the other place that you're going to get a leak is right around this line. And again, it can be prevented by keeping it properly lubricated, but sometimes we forget, like me. No one's perfect. So I'm going to take this apart. This one has a leak right here around this line. So fill valve's fine, but it has a leak around this line. So I'm going to take this magazine apart. I'm going to show you how to fix it. So as you can see, I'm sitting at my computer, so it's not going to be too involved. You need some kind of tool that you can punch out these two pins with. Let's see if you can see them. You have one there, and then you have the other right there. So to punch them out, it's pretty easy. Just bear with me while I take care of it on my desk here. You're going to need something to punch out, maybe some sort of pliers. Needle nose is fine, and you don't need a hammer that's this big, but having something that you can tap those pins back in after you're done, it'll help. Okay. So gonna punch these two pins out first, which that's gonna let me take off the bottom of the magazine. And all you need to do is push down on these in 1 sec. Alright, so took care of it. You can see that these two pins right here, they're sticking out. That's what holds the bottom part in place. And I used I'm not sure what this tool is. It kind of looks like something that you would use to unscrew mini star bolts. For the sake of your fingers, I wouldn't be using like a flathead or a Phillips head, a really small one, because it's going to slip, because you got to put a good bit of pressure on it, so it's going to slip, you're going to cut your hand open. Don't do that. But anyway, once you get those pins kind of out, you can take your pliers and just take care of the rest by just pull one out, and I'm telling you right in advance, watch when you take it out, the spring that feeds the ammo in the magazine is going to fall out too. So don't lose it. So take that out and take the other pin out. Forgot that this one was still pressurized, so the whole magazine just exploded. Not a problem. Now I just gotta find the pieces I just picked up. So make sure that you have the actual magazine unpressurized before doing this. Alright, so that was a bit of a misfire. So for that, I'm going to put on the very beginning of the video, make sure your magazine is not pressurized. Explosion to follow. Please don't hurt yourself. But you know what? Worst thing that happened in that to me, and like I didn't get any parts flying around. Both the pins are still here. This fell on the floor. This is the bottom of the magazine. As you can see, bottom of the magazine. And this right here is the piece that we're looking for. So once you take apart the MK1 magazine, you're going to find at the very bottom, and hoping that it doesn't explode on you like it did for me, just make sure it doesn't have any pressure in it, like any pressure in it at all. You're going to find that there's going to be a side with ridges, and then there's going to be a side that's completely flat. This whole thing is rubber. And it's seated with ridges facing down. That's important. Ridges facing down on top of the actual magazine. So if you take a look at like a leaky magazine fix for most gas blowback pistols, whether you're not going to have a whole chunk of rubber acting as the sealer. You're going to have a probably larger magazine, and you're going to have an O-ring or a square ring just going around the very bottom. You're not going to have literally a brick of rubber. So this is the key to what makes the actual gun leak around that area near the bottom of the magazine. So what you want to do is you're going to take silicone oil or WD-40 silicone oil, not WD-40. If you're going to go that route, WD-40 Specialist silicone oil, silicone spray. And we're just going to make sure that this is lubed up, and then we're going to get the excess off with paper towels. So, one sec, please. Alright, properly lubed up piece of rubber. So, we have the bottom of our magazine. We're going to put ridges down, ridges side faces down. We're going to put this back onto the magazine, and it's going to wobble around a bit. Don't worry about it. And then we're going to take our magazine spring, which fell out as soon as we took apart the gun. We're going to feed this back up into the actual magazine. And there's a little nub at the bottom that we can put everything together. Oh, and also you're going to see a lot of people that say just Teflon tape the actual magazine. It doesn't work with this one because the tolerance, like this rubber brick here is so, it's so close in diameter to the actual diameter of the magazine. So if you put anything around it, it's not really going to I guess the word would be take, because it's not going to fit back into the magazine. So where was I? Well, at least, you know, the bright side about putting this back together is I know for a fact it's not going to explode in my face. Okay, so remember, the ridge is side down. Put this back in. Now this is going to take a little bit of brute force, a little bit of finesse, but mostly brute force. We're going to put our pins back in, so pin number 1. You remember this, we're basically doing what we just did backwards. Pin number 1 and pin number 2. And as long as you have one pin in, the second one's going to be easier. And this is where you might need some kind of hammer or something to tap the pin lightly into place. And make sure it's the whole way. Make sure it's the whole way down. So I'm actually going to take it to the floor quick. Sounds like I'm dropping a beat or something. Take it to the floor. And just going to make sure this one's flat. Okay, that one's flat, and my other pin, so this one's in, and my other pin, you're going to have to push down on the top of the magazine a bit, just to make everything line up in this little hole. I'm going to push this one back in as well. Again, it shouldn't be too difficult. And you can use your pliers, or you can use a hammer just to get it the whole way in. The most important thing is just make sure that you have the, like you see, it's kind of still sticking out. If I turn it, the camera's not going to be that kind. You don't want it to be sticking out, because then you're not going to be able to put your magazine back into place. So just make sure that everything is back where it belongs. And then after that, you are good to go, and you should be leak free.